In this video, I will show you how to make Wizard incredibly powerful in under 24 gear score. I'll show you all the perks, spells, and skills to run. I'll also reveal the secret sauce of this build. There's one single item you'll want to bring in. I bet you won't be able to guess what it is. Near the end, we will go over a matchup tier list for this Wizard build. Just be warned, if you decide to use this, you may get angry messages. First off, why I feel qualified to share my opinion. I have roughly 3,000 hours of experience in Dark and Darker. I've played every class extensively in solos, duos, and trios, from starter gear all the way to the highest level of gear, including artifacts such as Viola and Elven Bow. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button below, as it allows you to see my helpful videos as soon as they release, so you can always have an edge against other players. Make sure you watch the whole video, as there's important information in each section. First, some PvP to prove how powerful it is, and I'll explain how I'm approaching each fight. So here we see a Warlock in the distance. We're going to close the gap, get some high ground, and pre-buff with Haste and Ignite. Then we're going to rain down our fireballs. You always want to poke with fireballs as much as you can before going all in, so there's a bunch of free damage. Here, he decides to Phantomize because we get in close, and we get to punish by fireballing his feet. Warlocks take a ton of extra damage when they're in Phantomize. They have reduced MR. Remember to use Arcane Shield when you're getting in close. We finish off the kill with the Ignited Magic Staff. Here's another Warlock matchup. These are really popular in solos. You'll end up fighting a lot of these Warlocks. Haste, Ignite, and always use Invis last, because the other spells will cancel it if you do any more actions. And again, same thing, he switches to Phantomize, and we get an easy fireball kill. The Warlock sends us a little love letter, which is common when you're messing people up with my builds. Always blue pot before a fight if you have one. We have a rogue on the other side of the door here, so pre-buff. I actually whiffed my first swing. But between my blue pot and my arcane shield, then the shield perk that I have, we're very tanky, and we actually end up still winning this fight. That's the power of this build. This clip is a good example of how you can rely more on your spells. You don't always have to be bonking, especially against squishier classes. And if they're in a bad spot, we catch this guy cheesing Skelly Champ up top. Land 2 fireballs. Third fireball splash. And a zap. I go for the ignite here, but he actually gains some decent distance, so I decide to go back to my spells, and we finish him off with zap. In this clip, I was testing out crossbow as my secondary instead of spellbook, but honestly, I'm not a very big fan. Like here, I'd rather be using spellbook. Casting with the staff is not ideal in most scenarios. It does deal more damage, but you're a lot slower. This poor guy was kind of caught with his pants down. And we finish him off with the bonk. Here I'm going to show you how to play into a ranger with triple shot. You hear them pull it right there? You're going to bait them to shoot it like this. And you dip behind cover so they don't land any of the arrows. Finish them off with the staff bonk. Here's a clip from duos. Always wait for your teammates before engaging. And we're gonna pre-buff. Blue pot. Red pot. I think from the big mob. Haste in. Ignite. What is this? You need to catch him by surprise. One dead. Always proc your arcane shield as you're going into melee. When you're playing with a teammate that's going to frontline for you, you can rely a lot more on your range spells. Just be careful not splash fireballing your teammates. Instead, you'll see in trios, you can rely a lot more on your spells, especially if you can hit multiple targets with your splash fireballs.
Just got headshot.
Then drop down to heal up, and then re-engage when I'm a little more healthy.
Getting sprinted on.
Yeah, I just hit fire. Fire's dead.
Nice.
Rogues on me.
Oh,
And all that.
no. They're all dead. So I have 25% MR and 160 HP. Oh, 3 might kill.
Gonna one-shot him.
Rage or no rage?
Rage.
Oh.
Ow.
This is why it's important for us to poke them down first with our fireballs and our zaps to soften them, especially if it's a tankier opponent like a barbarian. Here's a nice little 2v3 clip. Splashed him.
Yep.
I direct hit Warlock. Buffing you. Double on.
Yeah,
Where
they're
the
good.
fuck are you guys?
So in teams, I like to start off by using our spells and then buffing our frontliner as needed. And then we use our ability to act as a frontliner as a backup once our front line is dead. One thing I need to mention is if you're going to play wizard, you're going to have to campfire a lot. So get used to this. After every fight, you'll be dropping a campfire. He's running for his life. What? I'm dead.
Uh-oh.
All right, to make wizard OP in under 24s, this is the secret tech. We're going to pick up a necklace, an ox pendant, either green or blue, and it'll still keep us below 24 gear score. The role we're looking for is physical power. Because this is a bonk build, the main thing that wizard is lacking is strength. So we're going to be picking up a strength necklace with physical power. So look up ox pendant, physical power. You want to aim for at least +3 total between physical power and strength, but 4 or 5 is ideal. Now, let me show you why. Why are we building strength on wizard, you might ask? Now with this build, this is going to be a bonk build where we're going to be igniting our magic staff and hitting them in melee. And the main issue with wizard is they start off with extremely low strength, 6 strength to be exact. And if you look at our physical power bonus, it's negative 25%. What this means is this 29 physical damage that you're going to be hitting with your magic staff is going to be reduced by 25%. Your ignite is still going to be doing full damage, which is great. And the extra magic damage from staff mastery is also going to be doing full magic damage because you have positive magic power bonus. But this physical portion, the 29, is going to be negative. So we want to bump this up by wearing riveted gloves, +2 strength, and dark leaf boots, another +2 strength. You can see now we're at only negative 11. Now, if we wear a strength necklace with physical power, it's going to put us up at 0 if we can get a +5. With a +4, you're going to be around -2, which is still going to be totally fine. Now, the reason that we're opting to run staff mastery and have a bonk wizard build is that, number one, this is one of the strongest ways to play wizard in solos in any gear score. But in low gear, we don't have the luxury of being able to build a bunch of extra magical damage. So our spells are never going to be hitting that hard. And we're oftentimes going to run out of spells before we can kill the class that we're fighting. But with this bonk build, it is going to give us so much damage and so much magic damage. You're going to be 1, 2, or 3 tapping even the tankiest classes with this build. Let me explain the perks quickly. Staff mastery is a must-have for any bonk build. What this does is it adds 2 magic weapon damage to our staff, and it adds the extra magic damage that's flat on the staff. This 5 gets added on to that 2 because they scale together. So this is actually giving us 7 magic damage on hit with our magic staff, as well as the 29 physical damage. And then our ignite damage is going to have extra magic damage on top of that as well. We're going to be running the 2 predominant tank perks for wizard to make ourselves a little bit beefier. We've got Ice Shield and Reactive Shield. Ice Shield is going to get us some extra bonus armor rating, as well as anybody that hits us, they're going to lose movement speed and action speed for half a second. This is really powerful and ensures that we're going to win a lot more all-ins, because while we're hitting at full action speed, their action speed is slower if they hit us once. And pair this with Arcane Shield and Reactive Shield. We're never going to die in one hit as long as we have Arcane Shield up. So they're going to feel this action speed reduction, even a barbarian with an axe, and we're going to be able to get our damage off before they get their damage off. Reactive Shield is going to proc. If we walk in with our Arcane Shield, and that hits, it'll pop. The next hit will be tanked by the reactive shield. So we essentially get a shield in the first time we're hit and a shield again in the second time we're hit. This is making us very deceptively tanky. 105 HP plus another 15 and then another 15. So call this 135 HP. Quick Chant is an absolute must. 15% spellcasting speed is incredible for a perk. You'll see the other perk that gives us casting speed is Sage, and you'll see this will bring us from 27.5 to 33.8, but Quick Chant will bump us up to 42.5. So this is preferable. We'll go over some honorable mentions. Personally, if there was anything that I was going to swap off, it would be Reactive Shield, because sometimes this doesn't get a lot of use. If you take a hit and then it procs, it doesn't last that long, so oftentimes it can wear off and you don't get any value out of it. So if you really didn't like Reactive Shield, you could try running something like Melt, which is going to give them negative 10% PDR, boosting our physical damage. You could run Fire Mastery, which is going to help us cut through any health potions that are ticking on our enemies. It's going to help against Fighter Second Wind especially, and it'll help against any cleric who's spamming spells. But I find this is more useful in duos and trios. It's usually not that useful in solos. None of these other spells are going to be very applicable to this build. So let's head over to our spells and I'll explain those. We're running Ignite because it's going to deal an additional 5 damage on hit, and then it also burns them, and I believe the burn is another 0.5 scaling, so you can look at this as a 1.0 scaling. So with our magic staff, we've got 5 magic damage scaling with this, making it +7, and then our Ignite is adding an additional 5 magic damage on hit plus 0.5 scaling with the additional 5 on our staff, so it's 2.5, and then another 2.5 on the burn. This is a lot of additional damage. We have haste to help us get up close to our target, as well as the extra action speed is nice. And normally the combo is you ignite yourself, you haste yourself, you invis, and then you get into range and smack them with your ignited staff. The reason you do it in this order is because the ignite lasts the longest, the haste lasts the second longest, and then you want to utilize that invisibility to get in close, and it's also the shortest lasting. Our zap and our fireball are going to be our ranged options, so if you have the opportunity to poke before you go in, you'll want to use your fireballs and your zaps, especially your fireballs. If you have the chance to cast with your staff, it does do more damage, but you're slower while casting, as well as the animation is a lot worse compared to the spellbook. So we do have a spellbook in our offhand to be able to cast our spells in most scenarios. It's also usually preferable to cast your Ignite, Haste, Invis with your spellbook, swap to your fists, run in range, and then jump switch to your magic staff right before you swing on your enemy. This gives you the most movement speed and casting speed on your way in. Now, my preferred way to play Wizard is not playing Bonk. I'm a spellcasting enjoyer, but I recognize that Wizard is one of the weakest classes in under 24 unless you're running this Bonk build. This Bonk build is very powerful in under 24 gear score and can go toe-to-toe with any class. I can't say the same for any normal Wizard caster build, because the caster build is very item reliant. One last thing I'll mention is Spell Overload. I don't like running this because it cuts our spellcasting speed down too much, but because we're not completely reliant on spellcasting, this isn't a terrible option. You get more haste, more invises, and more ignites, as well as some extra zaps and fireballs. This isn't terrible, but I just didn't like how much it lowered my spellcasting speed when it's already quite low. I much prefer having around 70% spellcasting speed, and there's no way we're hitting that in under 24 gear score. Okay, one more tip for gearing up. If you have the Lichen skin unlocked, I'll show you a stronger variant of this exact setup. We're going to take our leather cap off and switch on to the Lichen skin. 4 vigor, 10% headshot reduction, and no movement speed loss. Compare that to the leather cap, which was 2 vigor, 8% headshot reduction, and -3 movement speed. So this is stronger, and it doesn't impact our gear score, which means if we wanted to bring a chest piece, we could. Mystic Vestments are the best option because they only give us -3 movement speed. We get 25 magic resist, some armor, and some will to boost up our magic damage. There isn't really anything else I'd recommend running as your chest piece. I suppose you could do Adventurer Tunic if you just wanted the flat HP, be the best alternative. Frock is too slow at -6. Padded Tunic is way too slow at -7. Same goes for Oracle Robe, Light Akaton. They're all too slow to be worth wearing. So this is the setup I was often running with Lichen skin, putting us at 24 gear score with common everything from our Squire and one item from the marketplace, a green or blue Ox Pendant with physical power. If these go way up in price off of this video, I'll give you a couple alternatives. You could just go onto the marketplace, look up any necklace, and look up physical power bonus. As long as you're getting +3 physical power, you're going to be totally fine. Because worst case scenario with 3 physical power, I'll show you right now. So that was only 39 gold. And if I was to wear this instead, take this off, you'll see my gear score is 21 because it's green instead of blue. We're only at -4 physical power bonus, which is not too bad. It's just you don't want to be at -11 like this. That's too much of a reduction on your physical damage. This matchup tier list for Wizard is specifically for under 24s with this bonk build. So don't apply this knowledge to other Wizard builds at other levels of gear. We're going to start with Wizard. Obviously, Wizard is just going to be a neutral skill matchup. And next is going to be Druid. Now, Druid is pretty weak in under 24 gear score. They have been buffed recently, so their Panther and their Bear should have a little bit better base damage. The only thing you need to worry about is a Panther Druid, but they're really squishy. If you hit the Panther in the face with a fireball, which is not that difficult, almost gonna die straight up from that. And then with this bonk build, you're gonna have your shields gonna explode on them. All you have to do is hit them once or twice with your staff and they're dead. That's Panther. So I'm not too worried about it. Bear, just don't bonk them when they're Bear. If they're switching to Bear, just use your spells to kill them. They're a really easy hitbox and they have very little magic resist. So you can just hit them with zap and hit them with fireballs until they die. Fighter, I'm gonna put in Wizard favorite. Reason being, they're not gonna have much magic resist gear and you should out damage them with your ignited staff. If they're really good, they'll block you with a shield. They can get free hits in between and keep blocking your staff. That'd be the smartest way to play it. But then you can just play for spells, or they can try and just hit you with a bow, but you need to use your invis to gap close, get in close, and then kill them with flaming bonk staff. Bard's also going to be Wiz favored. You're going to win the all-in with your staff if it's ignited, and you have more damage than they do when throwing your fireballs and your zaps compared to their survival bow. Warlock, I'm going to put here. I haven't had too much difficulties with Warlocks at this low gear score. They don't have nearly as much magic resistance when they're geared, so even if they have anti-magic, you're going to win the all-in with your ignited staff, and you have more burst damage than they do with your fireballs compared to their curses. Rogue, I'm going to say, is neutral. If the rogue ever gets the jump on you, he's going to mess you up bad. If he has cutthroat, the matchup probably goes up into hard, but for the most part, as long as you don't get snuck up on, as long as you're aware of your surroundings and you're really careful about entering rooms, then you do normally win the all-in. If you're fully buffed with your ignite, with your shield up, you normally win the all-in unless you miss. But you did see that one clip against the rogue where it was pretty close. If you can land a couple of fireballs or zaps before you gap close, that is ideal because they have low magic resist and low HP, so the damage is really going to stick. Cleric can actually be kind of tricky, especially if they have smite. If you first open by throwing fireballs and zaps, they can often negate it for the most part by using their heals, and then you're out of spells, they're out of heals, but you're both full HP. And then when you all in, their smite paired with a lot of their perks like perseverance will actually do more damage when they all in you. You want to bait out their smite and then back up and wait for it to wear off and then all in, because your ignite has more uptime than their smite does. So as long as you fight them with your ignite up and their smite is down, then you'll win it. Otherwise, if you fight them into smite, you're probably going to lose. All right, the most difficult matchups are going to be Ranger. They're going to beat you at long to medium range. The only way you win this matchup is if you're able to get in really close and fight them with the ignited staff. You have to be very careful because as you're advancing on them, if you step in a trap, you're just dead. So use corners and cover to your advantage to get in close. And if you're not in a good spot to be able to get in close to them without taking a bunch of arrows, don't push it and run away. And the other most difficult matchup is going to be Barbarian. Barbarian running Iron Will is very hard to deal with. They have a massive HP pool and they will one tap you in the head if your shield isn't up. If your shield is up, then they're going to two tap you. And it's going to take about 3, 4, or 5 hits to kill them from full HP if they have Iron Will. Ideally, you want to use all your fireballs, all your zaps on them while kiting them out before you engage with your ignited staff, but that's a lot easier said than done. You see a Barbarian and you know they're healthy, ideally it's best to just turn and go the other way. If you guys found this helpful, I will make other videos on Wizard talking about the different matchups in different gear scores and different Wizard builds, because I have a lot of expertise in this area. If you have any interest in any other classes, check out my other build guides. So far I've got one for Warlock, one for Bard, Rogue, and Fighter, and I have more on the way, so subscribe if you want to stay up to date.